Welcome everyone to another episode where we delve into geodesy and distinguish geodesies in the world. My name is Mehdi Ishaq, and today we are honored to have with us Professor Riccardo Barzaghi from Polytechnic University of Milan in Italy. Professor Barzaghi has made significant contributions to different geodetic subjects, such as geoid modeling, gravity field modeling, and also deformation monitoring. Please join us as we delve into his career, insights, and how his research has affected our knowledge in the field. Welcome, Professor Barzaghi, and thank you very much that you accepted my invitation to this interview.
Well, thank you, because I guess this is really an important thing to promote geodesy and to interview people that are involved in geodesy and the activity of geodesy, which is not common, I guess.
Thank you very much. Uh, Ricardo, you have worked a lot in these subjects. I would say that when I started my research work, I saw your name among the papers that I was reading. So during this long time
Thank
and
you.
these things, and this long journey that you had, please tell us what was the key motivation which kept you interested in geodesy, and what was the motivation, and how did you start this subject at all from the beginning? What happened that make you interested to go to university and study, and then you stay in the subject?
Yeah, this is basically what happened. As I had the degree in physics, I was much more interested in mathematical physics. So, I guess also not only mathematical physics, but the traditional mathematical physics. So I was not fond of quantum mechanics, basically, at the beginning. That's why I searched for, I was looking for some thesis that was on that field. And by chance, I met Fernando Sansó, who gave me the thesis. And it was really fascinating because it was a topic which was different from those that I have studied in physics. So I decided, he asked me to stay, and I accepted, and I was really very glad to accept that. And that's the moment I started. Then I had PhD in surveying, in geodesy surveying, and then I started my career at the Polytechnic in Milan. That's an easy thing, as I guess most of us did in the beginning of their careers.
So, Ricardo, thank you very much. What is special with geodesy that you like, that it keeps you interested in this subject?
Well, as I said before, mathematics and theory, but that was
Okay.
quite a standard thing in the past. There was much more theory and mathematics than now, because as we all know, usually young people are much more involved. They switch to, or are much more involved in GIS and remote sensing and practical applications. When I started, it was not like that. And for me, as a mathematical physicist, was, what I expected to have. That's why. And then, yeah, I guess that my idea is basically to work on theory. And also, since I'm at the Politecnico di Milano, which is a technical university, I was able also to see from theory to applications, which is important. Both aspects must be, so to say, in the curriculum of a geodesist, because you cannot simply say, well, I'm developing theory and I don't care about applications, which are important, because we all know that the impact on geodesy, despite that people don't understand it, the impact of geodesy over practical fields is very, very important. And in my mind, it's important to have this connection between theory and practical things and applications. And also, I have to do that since, as I said, I'm in a technical university, so I cannot simply say I'm studying theory.
Yeah, yeah, I do it. Well, that is interesting. But geodesy is really mathematically oriented. I mean, know that. It's very
At least
much
this is
some.
my route, so to say. So
Yeah, yeah, it is. But Ricardo, what type of challenges have you observed during these years in the subject?
you mean changes or challenges?
Changes and challenges, both we can talk about.
Yeah, well, I guess the main changes, as I said before, are the shift from theory to practical aspect without knowing deeply the theory. And see, this is basically what we are at the moment we are now, particularly things in terms of GIS, for instance, or GNSS as well. Now they are in practical things which are extremely important, but there is no theoretical development on that merely because most of the development have been done. So we switch more to applications, and we have a huge number of applications. And theory is, more and more discarded. And this is a pity, I guess. This is the challenge because through that, geodesy entered in a field which is not strictly speaking geodesy. It is surveying, it is GIS and mapping, and so on. But quite, impressively was that I was talking to people of the Esri company, the one producing GIS. Uh, and they told me that customers are frequently asking them if the software that they deliver, that they produce, is correct. Because simply they apply what is in the windows of the software, and they do that without knowing the background. So they get the wrong result, and they claim that the program is wrong and not that the knowledge that they have is wrong or insufficient for solving the problem that they face. And this is one, critical thing that happens.
Yeah, I do agree, Ricardo. Many times, we are both editors, and we receive and edit papers, and we clearly see that the author has just applied the software without understanding what is happening inside.
Exactly.
They cannot interpret
Managing,
it, they cannot
yeah,
understand. Yes, yes, that's the big
managing a bunch
challenge.
of
I do
data.
agree.
Yeah, they collected some data, a bunch of data. Maybe they process through commercial softwares. Most of the cases is like that, and they get results out of that. They are good. They are not. They are not able to argue about that because they don't know the theory behind that, or they are not able to process properly with proper stochastic tools or interpretation coming from error theory and something like that.
Yeah, you mentioned very good point. I really like that at this point. That we are more on practical side is a big change from theoretical. We have shifted to practical part, but
Yeah,
we are missing the theory. We are missing
yeah,
the theory.
yeah. We have been
Yes,
washed away, but most of the data that we have.
yeah,
And to my surprise, someone told me that only 10% of the data that are actually collected by satellites, for instance, are actually managed and investigated or used, which is something that should be, which is critical, and we should think about that.
yes. Still, when I'm outside, when somebody asked me, what is your job? I said, I'm geodesist. What? Are you geophysicist? No, I'm geodesist. Are you? No, geology. No, I'm geodesist. Well, what is the difference? I said, we look at this with geometric eyes. What does that mean? How can we do what can we do so that the people
Ah.
can get to know
Uh,
more geodesy?
yeah, this is exactly what happened and is happening to me. more or less, I wouldn't say every day, but most of the cases. If I go to my lecturer and I ask her to, deal with geodesy, try to see if we can have a Master of Science geodesy or so, probably the reply would be, what is geodesy? And as you said, they used to say, geophysicists, no, geology, no. And then you say, okay, we are dealing with the shape of the Earth, the orientation of the Earth, and the gravity field. At that point, they say, meaning in their minds, I guess, that this reply is, who cares, basically. But this is because, this is the idea. But this is because we are not able to advertise what we do. Things in terms of GNSS, for instance, just only GNSS. We are, it is for granted for us that we switch our mobile phone and we are able to find our position all over the world. But all what is behind that is not known simply. People, they don't realize that behind that, there's a huge work, organizations and so on, which is managed by the International Association of Geodesy. But simply they don't know it. And as soon as you say that, they say, wow, this is great. But the point is, we should try to, again, to see that, to show them, to show people that there's a continuous flow of things from theory and the application that we have behind that, and finally product for users. I guess that we have to be more, well, we should try to advertise like, we are doing now, and see if we are able to explain even in, poor words, so to say, what we have and what we do every day for maintaining, for instance, the GNSS applications, which are completely and widely used by people everywhere in the world. So this is one point. And it could be that we can also stress all the other application which has to do with the environment. So things in terms of satellite altimetry, for instance. We can show people that sea level rise and other applications which will have an impact on society can be managed thanks to geodesy. And then also, it would be nice if we can also be in more strict contact with geophysicists and oceanographers, because otherwise we are not able to promote geodesy, because again, it is this geodesy science is behind all that. But without geodesy, all these applications, all even these scientific topics will have a problem. Recently, I got a picture, a cartoon from US people in a white paper, and they use this concept of the reverse pyramid, which means that in the tip of the bottom, you have a very small triangle, which is geodesy, and above you have all the applications, but they all rely on geodesy. Even though it is a small science, it is fundamental. We should try to advertise this concept.
People will realize it when our service stops working, stops
Exactly. If
functioning. Then
someone
we
is
will
going to
realize
switch
it's
off GNSS or the system degrades, for instance, because it must be maintained. So we have BRBI, we have LASER, we have TORIS, we have GNSS. If we are not able to maintain this system in a good shape, so to say, all the application will be degraded, and we won't have centimeters, we have decimeters, and so on and on. This should be underlined to people. In my mind, it would be nice if we can have a very short video saying, for instance, there's, I mentioned that to the executive committee last time in IAG. In a small video, or this video during, which has a very short time, where people are, for instance, having a party on a boat in the middle of the ocean because they know where they are. And in a moment, someone switched off the system. And instead of having the position, lat, long, and height, they have some question marks. And they start shouting because they don't know where they are. So I guess, or people that are, trying to line up some roads, and in the end, if someone switches the system off, they are not able to line up things. Or we can mention the bridge between France and Germany and Switzerland. When they have the discrepancy, they know that in the height they have 27 centimeters, but they were, managing the thing in such a way that in the end they have 54, because instead of subtracting, they added, or vice versa. So all these are things which are related to geodesy that have a strong impact on society, and we should try to, improve our communication, because at the moment it seems to me that you are more or less, so in a circle among us, without having all this possible, advertising moments, so to say.
Thank you. Yeah, I do agree. Yeah, as I remember, as I was having a discussion with my boss, I was saying that I was working with oceanographer, one oceanographer. I said that we are going to compute the energy of the wave using such. Oh, how geodesy is related to this thing? So yes, yeah.
I didn't know.
Geodesy is
Yeah, I
normally
didn't
total
know.
station. It's
Exactly,
normally total.
exactly. They thought that, everything is, some total stations, GNSS at most. And a colleague of mine, for instance, claims that the entire geodesy is contained in a mobile phone. Well, I said, that's, basically the idea, but it's not the entire end of, this is not the end of the story.
Yeah, very, very rough example. Very rough example. But Ricardo, you have been in this subject for decades, some decades. And how do you see the trend? To which direction are we going? Or the geodesy is going?
Well, as I mentioned before, we are mostly moving towards applications, which is fine. But applications, we must be able to underline that, as we said before, applications are based on geodesy. But now people, they don't feel it. So if we move too much toward applications, in the end, I guess that geodesy is going to disappear. Because, all the bunch of data that we have will be the topic of geodesy, which is not. So again, I see that the future trend is like that. So we are moving towards some, applications, but I don't like it. I guess that you have to reflect mostly on what we can do, again, from theory to applications, being able to underline that this relationship is important. And at the moment, it seems to me that you are moving in a fast way towards application only.
So you mean that even by moving toward application, we can help this decision makers to
Exactly.
realize the importance of the subject.
Yeah. While if we only stick to applications only, they simply say, okay, anyone can do it. So anyone can switch the mobile on and have the position. So they say, okay, who cares about geodesy?
Yeah.
And this is the time, I guess, unfortunately, at least
Yes,
in my opinion.
this is so. When the service stops, and then we realize. And
Mm.
sometimes I say that they ask me what is geodesy. I say that just look around yourself. Do you see any geometric shape?
Exactly.
Do you
Exactly.
see any geometric shape?
Uh,
The roads, the
yeah.
lights,
Or
everything is
tunneling
in your.
or whatever else, you can see that the impact of geodesy is strong, despite the fact that is, to say, hidden.
Exactly. Sometimes I make jokes when people ask me, what is your role in the society? So that we are everywhere and nowhere.
Yeah, exactly.
We
This
are
is
everywhere and nowhere.
a good
Nobody
station for
sees us.
describing others.
Yeah, nobody sees
Yeah,
our role. We do it. And it was
yeah, yeah.
interesting. I was in north of Sweden during the weekend, and one person asked me, "What is geodesy?" I said that we are determining the shape and the size of this. What? We know that. We know that. So
But you know
then
it because we did, and
we
we
know it. Okay.
continuously. Yeah, sure. You
So
see, it is, like the colleague of mine saying, geology is in the mobile phone. Exactly. Because he said, well, everything is solved and it is there.
it was another example. I was a couple of years ago at KTH, where it was pedagogic education actually. So one of the colleagues and asked me, "What are you doing?" "I'm working on gravity field." Gravity. Gravity is 9.8, isn't it? What are you doing? So yes, okay.
Almost everywhere.
9 point.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you should say, roughly speaking, it is so, but there is
Okay.
much more.
So it means that the role of geodesy is not still now.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that we are addressed by this type of questions, with type of reflections.
And it could be that this is also our fault because we were not able. We are so engaged in what we are doing that in the end we are not able to advertise what we do.
I
And
do agree.
since as I said, this is something, geodesy is something which is behind the lines. Well, for instance, an hydrologist can easily explain what he is doing, rivers, flooding, sea level rise, and so on. A geophysicist as well. You have earthquake, you have subsidence, the volcanoes, and many other things which are of impact. While we can say, okay, we are working on precise positioning, for instance. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. They say,
Just this.
okay, didn't we get it? Yeah, you got it because we have done our work. But it is, as I said, unfortunately hidden in the details, so to say.
Exactly. Exactly. Riccardo, my last question for this interview, what do you advise, or what is your advice to the generation and me and the generations after me for geodesy? What should we do to keep geodesy alive under its own name?
Yeah, that's a hard question because yeah, it's really a tough question. Again, I would stress the fact that they should know the basic of theory, not only of geodesy and gravity field or positioning, but also in deep what is about the stochastic models, for instance, because we use them in a strong way. And if you have no idea of what a stochastic process is, the estimators are, the Kalman filters, and so on, again, you apply things without knowing. And since all the most important applications that we have in geodesy for precise position, for instance, in detecting deformation, cluster deformations or volcano deformations, are based on a very deep knowledge of statistics and probability, this is another topic that should be addressed to young people. While unfortunately, I can see that this is not. They know they have a poor knowledge of geodesy, gravity field, and so on. For instance, spherical harmonics is a name for most of them. And also standard applications of stochastic. knowledge of the theory behind all that, we will be useless in a while. This is my basic opinion. So
Thank you.
I would say then, please study and think instead of doing. Or you can do things, but you have to devote part of your time in studying all what is around in geodesy, so gravity field, the positioning, and stochastic models, which are used in our applications.
I see that. I do agree. I do agree. We are seeing more and more these type of things that just applying, so playing with
Yeah,
softwares, and clearly we understand that
and this
we
is clear.
don't understand what they do. Exactly,
This is
exactly.
clear even in the application, in the papers that are published.
Yeah,
Most of
exactly,
them, as I
exactly.
mentioned before, it's simply, an analysis of the data that you have without any conclusion, without any deep insight in what you are doing. And this is a
Thank
pity.
you very
Because
much, Riccardo, for giving your valuable time to this interview.
thank you for asking me to be interviewed, and it was really nice to discuss all those topics with you. And I hope that this will be of some relevance for advertising to people what we are doing and what we are.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.
You're welcome. Bye bye.